Can you hear it?
I think I already did. Am I in?
Is this yours, Mr. Jones?
I lost my agenda.
Welcome. Welcome, everyone. Today is Thursday, May the 9th, 2024. In the year of our Lord at 6 o'clock p.m. This is an official meeting of the Livingston Parish Council. All public notices have been sent out, and let me say, like the famous artist James Taylor, it's a pleasure to see your smiling face. So it's just for those who like good folk music. Let's get started. As our custom, today Mr. Dean Coates drew the straw to give the invocation. So, Mr. Coates.
Lord, we want to thank you for letting everyone get here safely. We want to ask you to bestow wisdom upon our council members to do what's best for the people of the parish. And we also just quickly want to say, like for everybody to give a prayer to Heather Crane's family. She lost her father recently, and I want to extend that to anyone who is dealing with suffering or misery in their life, that we all pray for them. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.
Mr. Billy Gibbons, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Sir. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
To get started, to make sure there's a quorum, Miss Sandy, would you call the roll to make sure we have a quorum here today?
Mr. Artie.
Here.
Miss Sandiford. Here. Mr. Shavers.
Here.
Mr. Coates.
Here.
Mr. Taylor.
Here.
Mr. Wascom.
Here.
Mr. Mangus.
Here.
Mr. Goff.
Here.
Mr. Watts.
Here.
All present.
All right. Real quick reminder, check your cell phones if you would, just to make sure there's no major interruptions. Also, we've always been and try to hold to this policy. If there is a specific item that you want to speak on, please don't hesitate. Raise your hand, and we'll call upon you. We try to make that available for anyone. Also, I believe presentation solar panel has been pulled from the agenda. Is that correct, Mr. Joe?
That is correct.
All right.
Future date.
Okay, for a future date. Unless someone's here to speak on that, which I don't think there is. Okay. Adopted minutes from the April 25th Livingston Parish Council meeting and the April 25th Jubilee Crossing Economic Development District. I don't think the special meeting minutes are done right now, so let's just do the items A and B. Is there a motion to approve those minutes by Mr. Mangus?
I'll second.
Seconded by Mr. Ryan Shavers. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 Any opposed? All right, and the reason we're holding off on the special meeting minutes, if you'll remember at the last meeting, the recording went down halfway for the first half of the meeting or first three quarters, so she's having to go through and use the recording system to decipher it, so it takes a little longer, but we'll have them ready coming up. Parish President's report. This would be I don't know if there's anything set for a parish president's report. I don't think it is. It's a standing item there, Leighton, unless you want to brag on Mr. Brandon Browning for some reason, but
He's a good one.
he's a good one to brag on. All right. I'm sorry, Randy. I apologize for that. Okay.
You missed it.
I
Good.
know it. I guess habits. Item 10, this was placed on the agenda by Mr. Mangus. I believe it's discussion of revised statute 4214. But Mr. John, I believe he has basically a comment I think he wants to make regarding this, not so much action or anything from the council.
Yeah, thank you very much for allowing me to embellish on this a little bit. Basically, what I wanted to say was, according to the revised statutes, we can go through the numbers on it. The people do have a right to speak, and we want to let you know, we as a council, and I can't speak for everybody, but I can speak for myself, and I think I can speak for the other members, that we do understand we're a democracy, and it's very important to have public input. And when items do get pulled, they're not pulled for any nefarious reason. I can tell you, since I've been on this August body, I have not had anyone pull something because we didn't have votes. So if something's pulled, it's pulled because there's new information that's out there that we haven't gotten yet. That's one reason why I asked to make the resolution that we go through the ordinance committee. So I just want to let you know that we do feel your pain. We do understand what it's like to get ready for a meeting, and we will do our best, at least I can speak for myself, to not pull things and not pull items from the agenda for any other reason other than they're not good pieces of legislation.
All right. Next item on the agenda is 11, adopt a resolution to name an unnamed road located off George White Road in Council District Number 9. This is a road I believe is in Mr. Joe Erdy's district. For 911 purposes, the road is technically not in Livingston Parish's maintenance system. However, for emergency cases, there needs to be we need to put a name on the road, and preferably a red sign for a name. Do you have a name for that?
I do. Pond Ridge Lane.
Pond Ridge Lane.
Rich.
Rich, R-I-C-H?
Right. That's right, yeah.
So, Mr. Joe, would you be okay with a resolution to support that, to name that road and place a road sign there?
Yeah, I would. That's why I have it on there tonight. I'm definitely okay with that.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Erin Sandifer. Any discussion?
Yeah, that would be a red, non-taken into the parish maintenance road, correct?
Right, correct.
Okay.
However, I think it backs up to, it tees at a parish road, so yes. So for that one purpose, so all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? That motion carried unanimous. Also, next item, board appointment, personnel. I'll be real quick with this. 8 years ago, when I got elected here on the parish council, in our home rule charter, it required us to have a personnel appeals board for someone who gets terminated working for the administration. They can appeal to that board. I think they've probably been used 2 times in 15 years, so it's not very much. But the appointment that I made 8 years ago was Mr. Jimmy Durbin, and he has just recently passed away, and so that spot needs to be filled. And I'd like to make a recommendation to put Mr. Robert Badgerall, and that term will be due up next year as well. So
I'll make a resolution.
motion by Mr. Mangus, second by Mr. Lonnie Watts. Is there any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Any opposed? That motion carries. I'm sorry. Oh, yeah, and go ahead and just vote on your iPad for that, y'all, if you don't mind, for the ladies to be able. Also, the next item is the Livingston Parish Airport District. I believe these terms are staggered, and the one that I placed on there years ago is actually coming up. Mr. Denver Castles has done a great job and has worked closely with the airport board, so I'd like to again ask that y'all renew Mr. Denver Castles. I'm not sure how much longer he's going to be there, but I'd like to ask for somebody support, reappoint Mr. Denver Castles as my appointment to that board.
I'll make a motion. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Taylor.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Coates. Is there any discussion? All in favor say yes.
Yes.
All right, that motion carries unanimous as well. Committee reports, Finance Committee, Mr. Mangus.
Yes, we had a really good reporting from Mr. Mickey McMorris, and the main thing is we talked about the well, the Killian water crisis. Mr. Delat, parish president, spoke to us and explained that he thinks it's closer to 700 homes and more than 1,400 people that are served, and he went into depth about what the different alphabet soup of federal and state agencies are trying to do to help. But also, we have Mr. Wagaspak here, and I would like him to come up if you have any questions. He's from the auditing firm with the gentleman who was at the last meeting, so if you want to come up.
Yes, Council. Jacob Wagaspak with a firm of Falk and Winkler. My business partner, Tom Lejeune, had presented the report on the agreed upon procedures engagement that we had done for the council over the last few months. I think the action on that item was deferred, and you guys wanted some time to review that report, so I'm present here tonight to answer any questions I can.
No, I think we accepted it in. Yeah, we didn't defer it. I think we just...
Ms. Teal, did we accept it?
No, y'all deferred it per Jim Ryan's.
Yeah, we did.
I thought Brandy had came up and said that this was just as an introduction to it. Is that not the case?
We had a lot of discussion there, but we never did.
Okay.
We never did take it in.
Yeah, I don't think we did.
We gave the report and everything.
I think we waited until after June, right? The June
Finding.
yeah.
So what is the question?
Monica, did you have something to throw in here?
It still needs to be approved.
Yeah, that audit was presented to the council. That was the special audit that was referred to as the forensic audit. Of course, an auditor's not going to say that was a forensic audit, but they looked at some specific items there in that particular audit report. So I don't know if, I guess Ms. Sandy could let us know if we need to accept.
Yeah, does it need to be accepted? I mean, it was already done and we already paid for it. Do we need to?
Have to accept an audit? Probably wouldn't hurt, huh?
I've had a forensic audit before. I recommend.
I make a motion that we accept the findings reported at the last council.
Motion by Mr. Goff to accept the findings reported at the last meeting. Second by Mr. Mangus.
Can I just say something about
Discussion.
something?
Ms. Sanford.
And I know that I've said this in the previous meeting, the previous council meeting, and I also said it in the finance committee meeting, but I just want to state it again for public record. Something that I have been trying to obtain for quite a while is the retainer to the legal, our district attorney, our assistant district attorney. I have wanted an itemized invoice of our retainer. And so to explain it, first I was told in an email that it was unable to be produced, and then I was told that I think that's right, and then I was told that it would be too tedious to be produced. Maybe I have that in backwards order. So anyway, it's really important to me to get that for 2023, and I just wanted to state that on public record again.
I believe they said the findings will be completed in June of this year.
June 30th.
Right, that's another
So at
thing we
that
talked
point, you
about.
should have it.
So for the agreed upon procedures, we presented those findings, which you just accepted. We'll be starting the financial audit, which includes a compliance piece over the next few weeks. That's due by June 30th to the legislative order. So we will present that report at that point in time upon completion.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, we had a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Mangus. Is there any more discussion? None being, all in favor say yes.
Yes.
Yes. Is there any opposed? That motion carried unanimous.
Thank you.
Was there anything else for the Finance Committee, John, or Mr. Mangus?
That's it, unless Mr. Delat wants to discuss anything with the Killian water crisis.
I answer any questions, but
I
believe you covered it all.
I believe you
it all.
covered it in the Finance Committee, and once again, we're really thankful.
Mr. Coates, the Ordinance Committee, did you have some reports for that?
Yes, we had our ordinance committee meeting last night. We did have one ordinance that was forwarded to the council, and that's an ordinance for a solar panel moratorium, and that was sponsored by Councilwoman Sandiford, and I'll turn that over to her.
Okay, well, could you read it, Ms. Teal, the solar panel moratorium?
The proposed ordinance 24-11 is an ordinance to adopt a one-year moratorium prohibiting the consideration, submittal, or approval of all solar panel farms or commercial solar power plants within Livingston Parish until such time as the pending studies and ordinances are complete. The public hearing will be on May 23rd at 6 p.m.
Okay, so this is just pretty straight up. It's a solar panel moratorium until we conduct some studies and find out how we want to go about this in Livingston Parish. Does anybody have any questions about it?
I had some questions from constituents. This is for solar panel farms. This is not... Right, okay.
Is there a designation difference between what constitutes a solar panel farm?
Well, some people have solar panels on their home. This is not what that's about.
I live in District 9 where there's a pretty good size, well, decent size solar panel farm, and I'm with Aaron on this. We need to dig into this and get more information on doing that.
I guess I just have a question. This will be so you want to let this be the introduction of the ordinance? Okay, so this would be to introduce the ordinance, and Ms. Sandy's already read by title. I guess my question is, what are some of the problems? I mean, I'm strictly saying this because I know nothing about solar panel farms.
Sure.
What are some of the, what's the problem with with somebody putting solar panels in their field or their yard? I just educate me on this.
So a plant or a farm, so we do have an instance in Mr. Erdy's district, but there are other parishes that have moved to ban or regulate it. It's become problematic with upkeep and maintenance. The solar panels, the chemicals inside of the solar panels are said to be toxic, and so if you have a solar power plant or farm that goes into disrepair and it's unmaintained, it's not maintained anymore, those are toxic chemicals that are falling on the ground, and I am told that we will never be able to live on that or farm that in our lifetime. It takes too long for those chemicals to break down, those toxic chemicals to break down. So I have talked with some state legislators about it that represent Livingston Parish, and they are the ones that said, you might want to look into this. I've talked with Mr. Cascio about it. He helped Tangi write their moratorium and their ordinance and regulations on it, and so I'm working with him, and there are other council that are wanting to get involved and dig into this.
Okay, I've given some thought. I just saw it. I was able to watch the ordinance committee on YouTube, and I saw you talk about it, and I just didn't know anything about it. I just think of solar panels as converting sunlight to electricity. I know the chemicals are stored in lithium batteries, maybe, but I guess I just still have some questions on it. I'd like to research it myself.
I hope that you will research it with me.
But I will, and I would love to research it. But so you want to make a motion to introduce this ordinance?
Do you need me to make a motion?
Well, I'd like to study it more, but
this is just to put a moratorium
on all solar panels.
And while we research it and come up with our own regulations and what we want to do with it as a parish. So I'm not completely killing something here, okay? There's a lot of research to be done. Now, Mr. Cascio did the research with, at the time, councilwoman in Tangipahoa Parish, who's now a state legislator. And so he has a lot of information and a lot to bring to the table with it. But it does need to be researched. But while we do it, I think that it would be smart and wise to just hit the pause button on this and let's do it the right way.
Are there any applications for solar panels that the permit office may know of right now? Okay, Mr. Mangus?
Your point to learning more about it is very astute, because I didn't know much about it, and prima facie, I thought it would be a great idea, get green. But I went to was invited to the Louisiana Livingston Parish Forestry meeting last month. And when I went to that, they had a gentleman from Abbeville, West Louisiana, where they have lots of these farms, and he was advising all of the foresters. He's like, you have got to get an attorney because the local communities, municipalities and all, don't have hardly any regulations. And he said every one of the contracts you make are completely proprietary. So by law, they'll sue you on that. So the guy across the street may be getting $500,000, a year to rent his property and put these farms on, and you may get $50,000. They're not going to turn those contracts over. And he went in really deep about you have to bond them, like Ms. Sandifer said, when they're done, if they find out after a year or 2 years or 3 years, whatever's in your individual contract, whether it's profitable or not, they may close it down. And if it's not in your contract, or there's a municipality that's made like us, it's made a law on it, ordinance on it, they'll leave it there. And so they have to bond them, just like we do with the roads, to force them to take the stuff down. And so this is land that's was for crawfish, and rice, and then you have to put that's with water. We don't really have water problems, but yeah, it was really involved, and I was very fascinated. He gave me a bunch of information, which I can turn over some of it, obviously, to you.
I would love that.
And I'll get his name.
I would like to speak on that because...
Joe.
Is that okay?
Sure.
All right. We talked about it at the meeting last night, and I've been doing quite a bit of research on this myself because it's right where I live almost, and that's why I pulled it tonight, because I want to get all my ducks in a row before I present it to anybody here or up here. But I'm supporting the moratorium 100% till we may even, Aaron, we talked last night about maybe getting a committee to research this. It's possible we may go that route to get it all right, get it 100% right. Yeah.
All right, we have a motion by Ms. Sandifer to introduce this ordinance for tonight. Is there a second?
I wanted to say one more thing. I support her moratorium because, like she just said, other parishes are doing it, and if the surrounding parishes around us are doing it, they're going to come here if we don't have a moratorium. So I think that's important.
Second the motion of the introduction.
Second by motion by
Mr.
Mr.
Chairman.
Ricky Goff. Is there any more discussion?
Mr. Chairman,
Hold on.
Oh,
is this on the agenda?
yes, it is.
I didn't see it identified.
Let's see
Is there
here.
an addendum? It just says introduction of.
Well, actually, it's not. It just says,
Ordinance Committee.
sure, Ms. Sandy?
It was on the ordinance agenda for yesterday, so...
But it was not technically on the parish council agenda.
But
What, you think we should push it,
I don't want
introduce
you to
it?
be
That we could do that.
exposed to someone challenging your moratorium on some kind of technicality. So I think you need a motion to lift or amend the agenda, then take a vote to introduce it.
Okay, I'll make a motion to lift the agenda.
I second.
Hold on one second. We got to do some paperwork on that. I see what you're saying, Chris.
That's a good point.
So because it wasn't advertised on the agenda as a moratorium for solar panels, we'll have a motion to lift the
Motion
agenda.
to lift. I'll motion to lift.
And again, a motion by Ms. Sandifer to lift the agenda.
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Ryan Shavers, to add, okay, all in favor say yes?
Yes.
Any opposed? Aye, that motion carries. So is there a resolution now to introduce, to
There's a motion to introduce the ordinance.
introduce this ordinance? Motion by Ms. Sandifer, second by Mr. Ryan Shavers.
Yes.
All right, let's call for the vote.
Yes.
Mr. Erdy?
Sorry.
Yes.
Ms. Sandifer?
Yes.
Mr. Shavers?
Yes.
Mr. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Mangus?
Yes.
Mr. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Watts?
Yes.
All right. And motion to go back into regular
Yeah, motion to go, I make a move
Motion.
that we go back into regular.
by Mr. Mangus, second by Ms. Sandifer. All in favor say yes?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. You got this, Caroline? Now, let me just say for everyone in the audience and anyone watching on television, This ordinance will come up at the next council meeting for adoption. So if there's any input, or if anyone has any information regarding solar panels, solar farms, please get with us quick, because, I mean, we lifted the agenda without it being published, so get the word out. All right. Is there have any more comments, Mr. Any more ordinance committee meeting?
Yes, there was one other thing that we had voted on last night, and that was to consider adding another member to the ordinance committee. We had an issue where there were some traffic issues on the way to the meeting, and the meeting was delayed for a while. So if you could consider adding another member to the ordinance committee.
Well, thank you. I don't, they need to go to a vote. I'll be glad to do it. You know, 8 years ago, or 4 years, this year, no, January this year, I polled everyone to see who wanted to serve, and I felt like I asked everyone to put them on that ordinance committee, and I put everyone on it. But is there anyone else on this council that wants to serve on an ordinance committee? And I mean, if not, I know some great people that have great minds that would love to serve on that committee if you would support that. Now, they don't happen to sit on the council, but they would be glad to do it.
I will do it.
Mr. Joe Erdy?
Yes.
You want to serve on the ordinance committee?
I will.
All right, well, I hereby appoint Mr. Joe Erdy with Aaron Sandifer, Dean Coates. There's no motion.
Oh, okay.
There's no motion
Sorry.
on this one. This is strictly my appointment. And Mr. Ryan Shavers will now serve as the members of the Livingston Parish Ordinance Committee. Mr. Joe, you got this.
I got this.
I will say,
All right.
can I say something about it, just to bring up Tracy Gerlinghouse, who I haven't seen since.
Is he here?
No, but he told me when I came in the middle of a term, when we were going into the next year, he said, you should serve on the ordinance committee. And I said, no, I don't know how to do that yet. And he said, that's how you learn. And he did it, and it's one of the best things that he did to learn. And so I just echo that and thank him for telling me that, and I extend that to Joe. Now, I'm not saying you don't know. That's not what I'm saying, but I learn a lot being on the ordinance committee.
I would like to also say
I'm upfront about it.
Thank you to Mr. Councilman Erdy for stepping up.
You'll get my best.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else on the ordinance committee, Dean, or is that all?
Sir, yes, sir, that's all.
Just one thing, Joe, don't think you can do half on the finance committee and half on the ordinance. You got to do 100% on both.
I'm with you all the way, right? Okay.
All right. That pretty much concludes the items that we had listed, except for one more thing, which is an executive session to discuss professional competence or Livingston Parish Convention Visitors Bureau member as per Louisiana revised statute.
Mr. Waskin, may I speak to that?
Mr. Moody asked this to be on the agenda.
Yes, sir. There's a slight bit of confusion here. I do want to talk to you about the second part of that, which is the lawsuits that have been filed. And I'd like to talk to you about that in executive session so I can find out what you want to do and what we can discuss strategy.
Okay.
The other first part of that was just in case any member wanted to reconsider, that was the language I suggested be put on the agenda, but I don't know if any member has asked for that to be reconsidered. So I suggest that we have a discussion in executive session and then make a decision about what you want to do with the strategy. That may or may not resolve the need for any other action.
Okay. So you'd like to go to executive session to discuss legal strategy for a lawsuit?
A lawsuit, yes, sir.
Okay.
But right now, there's no motion to remove anybody before you.
Right. No, it's just to discuss. We have someone to speak on this, I believe. Mr. Easterly?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and other members of the council. My name is Tom Easterly, Taylor, Porter, Brooks, and Phillips, 450 Laurel Street, A4, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Taylor Porter and I were engaged to represent Mr. Parker, Mr. Marcel Parker. I'm here tonight to speak on his behalf to the extent that it is the custom of this council or to the extent that there is an opportunity that is extended to someone in Mr. Parker's position. Mr. Parker politely declines the opportunity to participate in any executive session and would prefer that any discussion on the item as a council involving his interests that I'm here to speak on behalf of tonight occur in the open session. So So I don't know procedurally how everything wants, Mr.
Well,
Moody wants to
that
handle
is
everything.
his
but-
right. If, for instance, we were going to be discussing anybody's character or competence, because this often happens when you're taking action to discipline an employee or remove somebody from a board, the law requires that if you can discuss anybody's character or competence, they have to be notified in advance. And they have the right to have that discussion in open session. But there's another rule that allows us to discuss litigation in executive session. And that's what I'm going to talk about in executive session, not anybody's character or competence.
Okay.
I have a question. Who put on the agenda discussion of the character, professional competence, physical and/or mental health of? Who put that on the agenda?
I suggested to Sandy that, and I'd written a letter to the council to be distributed. So if anybody wants to reconsider this action in light of the lawsuit, this is how it ought to be put on the
So you put that on the agenda?
I suggested the language, yes. I didn't ask
Okay,
necessarily.
because this was on the last agenda as well, written that way.
Oh, well, it probably was written that way.
Mr. Erdy didn't put that on the agenda. Did you put that on the agenda?
No, but it was put on under as of my name, and I stringently I denied that I'd ever said anything like that. I want to re-say it again tonight.
I understand.
Okay, it's not my words.
I understand, but
Okay.
anytime you talk about removal of someone, and you might be talking about their competence or their character, the law says you've got to notify them 24 hours in advance.
Where in the law does it say that?
In the open meetings law.
In the open meetings law. So we violated open meetings laws?
That's the allegation in the lawsuit, yes, ma'am.
Okay, and so why didn't you tell us that when we were in the meeting,
Mr.
with the
Cascio-
ongoing meeting?
Mr. Cascio did tell you.
I don't think so. Mm-mm. No, he
Talked
didn't.
about that in executive
No,
session.
he didn't.
Okay.
I don't know why we have to go into executive session and discuss it. It's public knowledge. It's a lawsuit. It's on public record.
Well, a strategy for a lawsuit might be something you want to discuss in executive session.
I didn't know we had a strategy, so, okay. I
Well,
guess
that's why I
we'll
want to
find
find out
out.
what your strategy is.
You know, so anyway, is there a motion to go into executive session?
Mr. Wasserman?
Motion by Mr. Ricky Goff. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. John Mangus. Is there any more discussion?
Yeah, I do have. We got an email, a 32-page email from you at 4:30 today on this. Now, this sounds like a same song, second verse, Mr. Moody. You think we can read that many pages in an hour and a half before a council meeting?
Ms. Sanford, all but one page of that was sent to you 2 weeks ago. All those Attorney General's opinions
not
were
that-
sent by Sandy.
No, they were not.
Oh, I thought Mr. Somebody had asked for the law and the Attorney General's opinions on. I saw the email chain. So I was just making sure, reminding you, those were the same Attorney General's opinions, so.
Did anybody else get those 32 pages?
I didn't.
Do you know who made that request?
Who made the public records request?
Who made the request for the Attorney General's opinions?
I thought that Sandy, some councilman asked for the law on it. I thought it was Joe, said, send me the law about this action.
Not me
That's
at all.
not the law, those are opinions.
Okay, the Attorney General cites what the law is.
We did get
and
the
she
opinions,
said
yes.
the statute was how you go about appointing a member of the
And
church
so-
commission.
okay,
So
so-
that was all in response to that.
I did not ask for that, though.
Well, I guess the thing is, we have a pending lawsuit. Our attorney wants to discuss it in executive session to see what our options are. I mean, we're not here to take action. I don't see what it would hurt to go hear what his thoughts are on dealing with pending litigation. I mean, that's just my thoughts. So, is there any more comments?
Yes.
Give us your name and address there.
Andy Starkey, 25097 Blood River Road, Springfield, Louisiana, 70462. I've sat in, this is the third council meeting I've sat in. I've thought about this many a day. I can't for the life of me understand why somebody is fighting so hard for an unpaid position. Maybe the council or somebody else needs to look at what's going on in the tourism board. Because I would not fight to maintain a position to go to 6 meetings a year and go out and hire an attorney to keep this position when it's not even paid. So maybe y'all need to look at what's really going on in the tourism board.
Thank you so much. All right. All right.
Mr. Chairman, may I be heard?
Absolutely, Mr. Easterly.
So on March 14th of this year, there was a council meeting. I watched the video, I've seen the agenda. There was an item that came up for discussion. I believe there was an executive session in connection with that. And at that point in time, the council voted to remove my client from the Tourism Commission, okay? It's in Mr. Erdy's district. The documents that I received in connection with the public records request that pertain to that meeting and the meeting 2 weeks later reflect that there was no suggestion whatsoever by any member of this council, except by what may have been reflected in an agenda item, that there was any impropriety associated with my client. There's been no suggestion that he has any character issues. There's been no suggestion that he has any health issues. The language in the agenda, nobody seems to know where it came from. I don't know where it came from. We've asked to try to find out who put it on the agenda, and nobody seems to know. The person that replaced my client, or that was appointed by this board, but for the fact that I don't think that this council has authority to do that, is someone that Mr. Erdy knows. It's not a situation where Mr. Erdy is contending that my client has any character flaws. There's nothing associated with his credibility that's been challenged, and there's nothing to support the notion that there's any basis to remove him for cause. I'm not here to call anybody out in terms of why they did anything, but it's our position that this council does not have authority to remove my client from the commission, and he was elected to be the chairman of the commission in February of this year, and he'd like to remain on the chairman and serve out his term. That's all this is about.
Okay.
Can I answer that?
Well, I don't know if there was a question, but did you have a comment you want to say real quick?
I was asked by Mr. Cascio when we was back there to give just cause why I was removing him and appointing Ms. Levy. And let's get the record straight, because I see where Mr. Easterly is going with this. Her and I were married 44 years ago. So that's my ex-wife. 44 years ago, not 4 years ago or 4 days ago. And I picked her because she's qualified way over Mr. Parker, and I could go into details, I can list character, but nothing about mental or physical or sickness. It's what your job is and what's required of you to be on the Tourist Bureau, and she outweighs him 100 to 1. So let me get that, and I could go, in all the characteristics of being it, and I will if you want to be here all night,
I don't really want to do that.
So, but I don't mind, but I gave the reasons why, and the flaws and the pluses to Mr. Cascio, and Mr. Coates said, "There's your answer." So I didn't leave out nothing. So the appointment was done correctly. Everything we did back there was done by the law. He asked me, Mr. Coates said, "There you go," and it was accepted. So I missed nothing on how I did it.
All right, well, I think we're not, and I hear what's being said, but it seems to me like we're not here to discuss what we did was right or wrong, or why we did it. We're here to discuss, now that we have a lawsuit filed against us.
That's right.
Our attorney says, I got some information y'all need to know. So, we have a motion by Mr. Goff, second by Mr. Mangus, to go in executive session to listen to what he has to say, to tell us some legal strategies. Ms. Sandy, you want to call for the vote?
Mr. Erdy?
Yes.
Ms. Sandifer?
Yes.
Mr. Shavers?
Yes.
Mr. Coates?
Yes.
Mr. Taylor?
Yes.
Mr. Wascom?
Yes.
Mr. Mangus?
Yes.
Mr. Goff?
Yes.
Mr. Weiss?
Channel 17, proudly serving the Florida parishes.
Back into a regular session by Mr. Mangus.
Yeah, move we
Second
go
by
back to
Mr.
regular
Goff. All in favor say yes.
Yes.
Is there any opposed? We are now back in session. Pardon? Vote on your iPads, please. All right. We went to the back, listened to our legal advisor, and we took no action in the room. Basically, with that information, we're coming out to the council, and we'll see if anyone on this council has any recommendations or motions to make any changes or do anything. And if there is none, no motions from the council, then we will just entertain a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Dean Coates to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Shavers. Any discussion? All in favor say yes.
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 That motion carried.